welcome page? Yes. Brilliant. That's good. Good start. So welcome, everybody. It is really lovely to have you here today at the virtual Agile group. Just a couple of things to say first. Thank you so much to spend your time with us tonight, or this morning or this afternoon, depending on whereabouts you are in the world. It's really lovely. I know everybody's time is very valuable at this point, so thank you very much to join us. I am Helen Garcia, and I'm a Scrum Master and Agile Coach. I basically set this up with my co-host Ines, so I'll let her introduce herself.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ines Garcia. I'm an Agile coach and a Salesforce MVP. And yeah, what I do is help organizations to be more agile whilst delivering Salesforce. And yeah, at the beginning of last year, I've been working with remote teams for a very long time, and remote myself for quite a few years. And it kind of shocked me, the boom of requests and uncertainty that was around being in a remote environment. So Helen and I kind of said we need to do something, bring people together and just share the knowledge and learn from each other as we go through this journey that may be more alien to ones than others. So.
Yeah, great, thanks Ines. So tonight then, this is very much a collaborative group, so please, ask questions if you need. I mean, Sarah, you'll take us through a bit more whether you want that in between, after, or however it is, but feel free to chip in, use the chat. Like Ines said just now, this session is being recorded. We record it because we want to show and share really the knowledge that we find here. So our time box, like I said earlier, is approximately 90 minutes, probably going to be slightly shorter than that, but totally just to give you insight there. And what else? Yeah, already said, utilize the chat as much as possible. We want to bring as much engagement as we can, and yeah, let's get going. So firstly, if you have been to virtual Agile before, you're probably familiar. I like to play little games. I often play one of my favorites, which is rock, paper, scissors, but I know that has become quite globally popular, so I'm leaving that to the side tonight, and I've decided to do a bit of a trial run with you guys, which a camera on situation would be very helpful, but understand if you don't want to, that's totally fine. This is going to start with a lovely game of noughts and crosses. Who knows noughts and crosses?
I do.
Yes, brilliant. Good, we know noughts and crosses. Can you show me a nought, a physical nought? Yeah. Beautiful. Yes. Can you show me a physical cross? Yes. Nice. Okay, so we're now going to play a very short game of noughts and crosses, which comprises of some questions. So if it is your first time here today, I would like to see a nought, but if it is your millionth time and you're part of the tribe, then show me a cross. Let's see how many noughts and crosses we can get, and can we get a full... Oh, we don't have a full line. We don't have a full line of crosses. Oh, that's okay though, because we've got lots of noughts, which is really exciting. So after 3, one more test. If you think happiness should be part of our leadership, can you show me a nought? But if you need convincing, you'd rather have a bunch of grumpy leaders, then show me a cross. Do we have...
I asked something. What's the halfway sign?
There is no halfway sign tonight, I'm afraid. No rock, paper, scissors. Oh, God, that was a lovely echo. A cross or a nought? Yay! Okay, so we do have a bit of a noughts and crosses. We have a winning line there, which is nice. Cool. That is it. That is my game for tonight. So I'm going to hand over to Ines to talk about better value, sooner, safer, and happier.
What can I tell you? We gave you this this little quote from John Smart that I think it kind of encompasses so much better the agile hype. Ultimately, the aim is not to be agile, but to improve, and to improve about what? And whatever we do every day is to deliver better value, do that sooner, in a safer way, and obviously happier. And the happier bit, it just means so much to me. And I think, you know, it's something that we seem to dismiss. Over time we learn helpless learning, and yeah, there is much more to life, and life is perishable. So thank you so much, Sarah, to be with us today and cover this subject, which is really dear to my heart. We need to speak more about this and what it encompasses, and what are the different things that we can bring to our teams and apply to our own life, so it's more fulfilling. So
thank you so much for having me. Shall I take over steering the ship?
Yes, that would be great. I think Helen, if you can do the swap for.
Yeah, I'm just going to promote you.
Oh, it's very exciting.
There is, I'm afraid,
happy at work at this place.
As usual, there is no money involved. It's just a promotion, free promotion.
Oh, no.
No responsibility, no more money.
Just a title. We'll talk about that later. So thank you so much for having me. I really love Agile. I've done a bit more research in it and watched some things. So I'm not an Agile expert, but I really do invite you, as Helen said, to come, ask questions. We're not a massive group, so just pop your hand up, shout out, whatever you like. That's fine. You're welcome to chat with me whenever you like. Ask questions, challenge assumptions, and all those kinds of things. My name is Sarah Metcalfe. I am the founder and chief happiness officer at Happy Coffee Consulting. And I also co-lead a group of 142 happiness at work experts and practitioners from 27 countries around the world and 40 different organizations. So I want to bring a little bit to you around leading with happiness, and we'll just kind of try to frame that in the Agile framework. But I think happiness at work is more important than ever. Right now, we are all going through the most difficult time we've ever gone through before. And whilst it might sound fluffy, I hope that I can share with you some of the science and some of the backing behind this. And we're going to do a little bit. You guys are Agile, so we're going to do some Miro board, which I hope we'll all be familiar with. And yeah, have a little play. And then Ines, if I forget anything that you played before, then please let me know, because I had one of those wonderful tech moments where my presentation, when I went to go check it an hour ago, was gone. So I had to rewrite it. So I hope everything is in there. I believe it is, but we'll share there. So I'm a chief happiness officer, and I believe that happiness is something more important in everyday life than it ever has been. But I was also really interested to see how it actually fits in with the Agile framework. So can you guys all see my screen? Yeah, wonderful. So I would love to get to know you a little bit, even if some of you know each other really, really well. So I'll ask you to turn your screens on again if you can. If not, that's totally fine. And I just want to ask you how you're showing up today. Very similar to Helen. Thumbs up. Yeah, you're here. You're excited. You're ready to go. Thumbs to the side. Meh, not so good. Thumbs down. You actually don't want to be here. So I'll ask you to, how are you showing up with me today? Thumbs up. Amazing. Thank you so much. Don't have to ask anybody. Usually you get like this when people are forced to come to happiness training. But we try to turn them around. And I would love it if you guys could just give me like 30 seconds each. Tell me your name and where you're from. And I can't see anybody's name, so I will go ahead.
I'm Daniel.
Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Daniel.
Oh yeah, and I'm from Bexley, not Bexley. I'm from Kent, over in Sidcup, southeast London, and I found your Zoom code on Meetup, but I've had it in my head everyone was meeting up, but obviously because of the lockdown, I realised it was on Zoom. So happy to be here tonight, and thanks for inviting me.
Cool. Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Are we just doing it randomly, or are we being allocated?
You are, because I unfortunately can't see your name. So please
Yeah.
just.
Hi. Cheers. Nice to meet you, Daniel. My name's Ali from the UK. Born in the UK, lived here all my life. I think it's a very interesting topic, happiness. But I do believe one thing, I'm going to sound philosophical. I think happiness is relative.
Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah.
And I do think, sorry to cut a long story short and sound like Spandau Ballet from 1980, but I'm only 36. But I think for me, I think there's a difference between happiness and contentment.
Brilliant. Well, we'll talk a little bit about that and we can share some stories later. Thank you so much. Thanks, Ali.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sean. I'm in Winchester in Hampshire, and I know Ines and Helen from meeting them physically in person, but not recently, obviously. Quite looking forward to when we can do that again. But in the meantime, I thought, well, this seems like a pretty good thing to turn up to. So here I am.
Thank you so much.
Bill Jeffries. I'm from Buckinghamshire, and it's my first time here. Helen kindly invited me along because I'm doing a study at the moment on Agile, and it's interesting, the happiness piece, because we've just built it into our company values.
Lovely to meet you, Phil. Sorry, I'm
And
just
you.
saying,
Thanks, Helen.
yeah, nice to meet you.
Then hi, I'm Justina from Amsterdam, and I'm happy to be here.
Thanks so much, Justina.
Hi, I'm Savar from Denmark. Also very happy to be here.
Hi, Savar.
Hi, my name's PJ. I'm from the Netherlands, but born in Australia, and this is my, I think, second virtual event. And I have met the lovely ladies in person as well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, everybody. And just in case my accent is confusing, I'm originally from Canada, but I have American parents and I've lived in England for 15 years. So wherever you hear I'm from on that kind of spectrum, that's where I'm from. Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant. Thank you. So I always like to show this. I think it's a really important thing when we talk about happiness and the things that we're doing. The world of work is changing, you know, and we used to work with our hands. Then we worked with our heads, which is kind of this knowledge world we're in now. And now we're going to work with our hearts. And that's one of the reasons I think that leadership is so important. Because the way that you manage the old style of work, where we were in kind of factories and building things, or farm laborers, anything like that, is a really different way to how you want to manage and motivate people who are doing work with their heads and with their hearts. So I find that a really useful way to look at it. And when I was talking to Ines, she said this beautiful thing about, you know, why is leadership important in the Agile world? And she actually said, as a Scrum Master, we're responsible for changing the organization we work with. And for that, we need to develop our change leadership skills. So I love that idea of, whilst you might not hold a leadership role, you're still leaders from within. And very much, I believe that leadership and management are different. And the ideas that we're talking about is really around leadership. And I quite like this as another graphic in terms of leadership. You know, if you want to be a leader, you better find some followers. Because a leader doesn't have to be the leader of an organization. You can be a leader from inside. And hopefully you've all worked with someone who maybe was like an undercover leader, you know, someone who people naturally turn to. And actually, in the Agile world, I think that you're very well placed to be undercover leaders. So I love that. And so there's a couple other things. I was listening to Ines speak again. It was talking about, you know, Agile being mindset or methodology. And I think for me, happiness at work is something we do. And one of the reasons that we're going to talk about is that People talk a lot about it. Maybe they have it as their values, but it's really important that it's not just words. You can't just talk about it. You can't just have it on the walls, and it can't just be part of your company. It's something you do. I spoke to one of my wonderful partners is a lady called Lucia, who was going to join us tonight, but I don't think she can. And she specializes in Agile and happiness at work. And so she gave me this little note about it being so important. You know, everything you do in Agile is about giving autonomy and promoting psychological safety at work, you know, flexible hours and intrinsic motivation of employees. And basically that Agile practices and the way we work, your rules and the mindset are all kind of for corporate happiness. So we're really talking about a lot of the same things, and you're working in a lot of the same environments as I do, just in under a different mindset. But I love the idea that the Agile way of working is with that. And I also loved this quote that you talked about, you know, better, value, sooner, safer, and happier. And I think, Ines, you talked about the happier piece being, you know, valuable, trust, fun, and satisfaction. So I'll get you guys to try and remember those 4 things as we talk through something a little bit later. And we can see how that plays into the happiness at work. So the first thing I want to do is ask you to have a little think about a time when you were happy at work. So I'd like you to think about a really specific time. So something that actually happened. It must be specific. And think about it. What was it that you enjoyed? And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw you into a breakout room. And I want you to tell the story to the person in the breakout room and then listen to their story. So I'll give you 1 minute just to think about, find that specific time when you were happy at work. And maybe when you've got one, just pop your hand up.
Sarah, could you repeat the question?
Yes. So you want to think about a specific time when you were happy at work. So I want you just to think back to a time when you were feeling happy at work. And when you've got a story, when you've got a time you can think about, pop your hand up and then I can. Great. Okay. I'm going to throw you into a breakout room. If you are on a mobile phone, you might need to just look and accept that. And what I want you to do, I'm going to give you 2 minutes each, and I'll tell you when the 2 minutes is up. And I want you to share the story with the person who you're with. So tell them the story of the time it made you happy at work. And the person who's listening, I just love you to listen out because you're going to come back and tell us all what were some of the things that you heard. Okay, is that clear to everybody? Brilliant. Yes. I will see you in about 4 minutes. One of you is going to have 3 people in your room, just so you know. City? Toronto.
Toronto.
Yeah, it's the most populous. And then I think Quebec City.
Quebec. That would be Montreal.
Yeah, the Quebec City is, Quebec City or Montreal.
Montreal.
Yeah. So brilliant. I think, is everybody back? I'm from British Columbia, so very west.
BC, I know BC.
Yeah. So sorry, yes, I didn't want to be rude, but I'm that's not my patch, so I don't know as much about it. So
I know BC, I've heard of it.
So thanks everybody. How did that go? Interesting?
Yeah.
So I want you to put up your hand if the story that you told or heard was a time when you were especially well paid.
I don't know how to answer that. God.
It's okay if it's okay if it was, but was it?
I don't equate money with happiness. So.
That's okay. We're
no worries. Just very philosophical.
So I'm just asking if it was a time when you were especially well paid.
Okay.
Well, how about a time when communication with your manager was especially strong?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
And what about a time where you challenged? Yeah.
Mm.
And what about it? Was it a time when you were trusted and given freedom to carry out work in your own way? Yeah. So what you guys show is we've asked this question around the world with loads of different people, and what we find primarily is about what we saw here. You know, very few people actually say that it's necessarily a time when they were well paid. About a quarter of people say it was when communication was strong. Half of people say it's a time when they were challenged, and almost 100% of people say it was a time when they were trusted and given freedom to carry out their job in their own way. It's really interesting because a lot of the time when we talk about, or we think that we're chasing things to make us happy, it's not always what we think it is. So I would love you guys to just shout out, and I would share the story of the person who you were in the room with. So pop up your hand if you want to go first, and just tell us a little bit about the story that you heard. If you don't go first, I'm going to choose somebody. Sean.
So I was talking with Ines, and I think, to be honest, I didn't really choose a specific incident, but what we talked about, Ines said, is very, what makes you feel good is when you can help somebody else to perhaps change the way that they feel, improve the way that they feel. So if you get that kind of feedback from somebody else that what you've done has made a difference, that makes you feel better, essentially, like a kind of a little virtuous cycle going on there.
Nice. Thank you. And how about you, Ines? Did you guys have that conversation, or did you have a specific story from Sean?
We talked about some similarities as well. And, you know, when you are not only helping, but when something is challenging and you're there to solve a problem, then certainly something that gives us the extra boost that we may need. But it shares some stories, like even things that happens earlier in the morning. So yeah, in terms of the feedback loop or solving something difficult.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Thank you. Dan, you had your hand up as well. Would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, I was just thinking that about it was a short speech, so I can't really elaborate on it too much. I think
that's right. I think we lost Justina. So do you want to tell us your story then?
Well, yeah, I've just written something. Hang on. Sorry, 1 minute. Yeah, I just said that hi, my name's Daniel. The time I was happy at work was when I had a paid round job. This was years. It was really fun, enjoyed meeting up with people, and my college is on at the moment, and I'm mostly at work with that now, and I've been pushed really hard with my homework, and waiting for my laptop they promised me, and my grades at the end of it, which I'm looking forward to.
So not quite as happy at school at the moment as the time you were happy.
At my college is different now. Yeah, so it's happy days. Yes, it's good.
Thanks for sharing. Ali, Helen, and Sevar, do you guys want to let us know what did you hear? Maybe just kind of like
do you want to go first, Helen and Sevar? Then I'll speak last.
Yeah, happy. If you like, because of time and stuff, I can just give a quick summary.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. Yeah, was there any like themes or something like that came out?
Yeah, I think so for us, like very much, I think it's getting away from, I guess, Ali, from your perspective, we're getting away from a bit of stress, being autonomous, like you were saying, being in control of your own work. And I think, Sevar, we're both sort of agile coaches anyway, but having that ability, you know, to help others and bring happy, like sort of automatically needing to, I guess, energize people as well and going into the workplace. So that was kind of like the theme, I suppose, of ours. Yeah, shall I hand over to PJ?
Perfect.
Sure. So I think maybe the theme, I suppose, we a bit had, I feel, please correct me if I'm wrong, is it was more about everyone being involved, everyone, having a say, being involved in something, and feeling that they had an impact on what was happening. Right, Phil?
I think that's spot on. We had two completely different stories, but it was very much around everybody in the group participating and that engagement actually making us feel happy.
Nice. Yeah, those are brilliant. Thank you. Sorry, Denise, you didn't get to join us, but we'll. I think you said you didn't have a microphone, right? Okay, that's fine. Well, pop stuff in the chat if you want to jump in. So we'll move swiftly onwards then. And one thing I want to talk about today is that right now, in where we are, pandemic and post-pandemic, I believe that happiness at work is more important than ever. The Davos Agenda actually has put workplace well-being on the agenda for 2021, and looking at building a more resilient workforce and the economy, that we should prioritize well-being, which is the state of being comfortable, healthy, and happy. So I think it's really, kind of more important, and something that they're talking, businesses need to actually invest in this. We need to embrace that as part of something that you can learn and change and do and implement, and then backing it with action. And like I said before, happiness at work is something we do. Another really interesting study that came out, McKinsey & Company has done a study, 96% of the companies that they studied or that they surveyed had put through additional mental health support for employees, but only 1 in 6 of their employees who of diverse employees felt supported, and that was actually mirrored in everybody. So we're doing a lot of things, but we're not always getting the results. And we find that echoes very much across happiness as well. So it's crucial in a leadership role that we value your colleagues and your peers' well-being just as much as their technical skills. And it's a leader's responsibility to model positive behavior and prioritize supporting colleagues' efforts. And we'll talk a little bit about why that's so important for leaders as well. Sorry, someone wasn't talking right. That was just an accidental mute. Yeah. And something I really believe is that business has always been about people. And people are what makes business go round. It's what, it's actually the platform that everything is. Without people, then business just doesn't work. So why wouldn't we want our people to be at their best? And happiness at work is the secret to employee well-being. And I absolutely love this. And Thea Ong came out this year and said, what if we could use the workplace instead of being kind of the cause of burnouts or the reason for burnout, what if it became a source of mental well-being? And it was the source that gave people positive energy that fills them up, helps them show up and be the best version of themselves, not only at work, but in their other parts of their lives. And that is really what we believe when we teach happiness at work. I think it's more important, again, when we look at what we've been in and what we're about to go through. I think we're going to have a whole new range of challenges when everybody comes out of this scenario, because we've all kind of held ourselves together as best we can. And now we're about to come out of that. And, we know what happens in a micro version of this. When you work really hard or are really stressed and then you go on holiday, what happens?
You get a cold.
Get sick. So this is what we shouldn't be looking at happening on a global scale, because that would be even worse. So what is happiness? Well, Sonia Lubomirsky is a scientific researcher out of the US, and she describes happiness as the experience of joy, contentment, or positive well-being, combined with the sense that one's life is good, meaningful, and worthwhile. And so to your point earlier, Ali, happiness is, when we talk about it, it's really an umbrella term. It's a term that humans use to talk about positivity. So it's not just happiness in terms of, your dopamine, laughing together, being silly. It covers a whole wide range of emotions. And absolutely, as you said, everyone is different. So everyone feels happiness differently. Some people want joy, contentment. So when we talk about this umbrella term, it's really talking about the range of human positive emotions. but happiness at work, and Sevar, I don't know if you know Alex, so Alexander Kirolf, who's the founder of the partnership that I now run, is from Denmark, and Danish people have a word in their language for happiness at work. And Sevar, you'll have to correct me if I say it wrong. I always say it better after a glass of wine, but it's arbeidsglæde. And so they have
yeah,
exactly. I can't do the gl bit properly. Thank you.
yes.
And so they have a word in that language. Dutch has werkgeluk, is that right, as well, which is kind of a similar theory. German has one, Arbeitsfreude, but apparently when I speak to my German colleagues, they never use it. And interestingly, Japanese has karoshi, which is the complete opposite. It's actually death from overwork. So you have a whole range of that. But in countries where you have that built into the language, it is something people expect. It's something they have a word to describe. And when we talk about happiness at work, it's a feeling of happiness you get at work. So it's not being happy and coming to work and bringing your happiness with you, but it's that feeling you get at work. And that's quite important to distinguish between the two. So very quickly, we got like 2 or 3 people just shout out, how do you feel when you're having a good day at work? What's the impact? Yeah, Phil, go.
Increased productivity.
Nice, yep.
Being able to corroborate ideas better in a team.
Collaboration, love it. Brilliant, brilliant, love it. Anyone else?
Meeting new people.
Yeah, that's a great way to have a good day at work, for sure. That's lovely. Yeah, maybe you're more open, right? You're out there meeting people. So that's exactly right. And we did a survey in 2018 across the world, and this is what we found. The top results were, more energy. You're happier when you get home, relaxed and less stressed, more productive, more communicative. So very similar to what we've heard people say. And so the research is really clear that, having a good day at work has a positive impact on the rest of your life, as well as your work life. And it's really good for you. You spend more of your time, I used to say at work, but now I'll say doing work, than you do with your family, with your loved ones, with your friends, on your hobbies, and actually all 3 combined. So it's silly to be looking at working 8, 9, 10, hopefully not 11, 12-hour days if you feel miserable all day. That's not a really meaningful way to spend your life. And there's a lot of science that shows that people that are unhappy, they actually are more, they get sick more easily. And workplace stress leads and is linked to types of cancer, increase in type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. So some of the highest killers actually in our organization are linked to the stress of workplace stress. And also it's good for your time, for your life, for your health. It's really important. And success. We move the benchmark for ourselves much more in a Western context, I think, but we say, I'll be happy when I get the next job, I get the next promotion, I get paid more, I become a CTA, I'm a Scrum Master, whatever it is that you're reaching for, then you'll be happy. And the unfortunate thing is with humans, we're so bad at understanding what actually makes us happy, because what happens when you get the pay rise or the job? Anybody want to give a guess?
You want more.
You want more. You move the goalposts again. So actually what they find is that happier people are more successful. So actually trying to find your own happiness is this thing that moves you to become more successful. Because when you're happy with where you are, then actually you have all access to all these positive emotions we were talking about, which makes you more creative and all these other kinds of wonderful, wonderful things. So that's a little bit about why it's the kind of the secret. It makes you as a person more successful. Okay, so more productive, creative, helpful, better at service, empathic, resilient, optimistic, motivated, engaged, energetic, whatever it is you want to be. being happier yourself has a direct impact on your ability to be that person. And then it makes your team and your organization more successful. So you've got productivity, innovation, better sales, lower turnover, so people leave less. You're attracting better people, lower absenteeism, lower presenteeism, which is a big thing right now. People just showing up and being there, but not really being there. Growth, stock profit, stock price, customer loyalty, discretionary effort. So anything in your business that you want to improve, there's scientific evidence that shows it is improved by creating a happier environment and having happier employees.
Sarah, could I add a point? Do I have time or?
Go for it. Yeah.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Fantastic. Yeah, I put a little, well, not a little point. I put a paragraph into the chat for a reason. So everybody knows the station between Canada Water and North Greenwich on the Jubilee line, expletive wharf for some people. I think for me, I'll be very honest with you. People talk about success, whatever that means, quote unquote, because success, again, is relative, first of all. Secondarily, this thing about, quote unquote, being the best. I don't even know what that means. Oh, you've got to be the best. It's that whole Rocky thing from 1976. Be the best, try your best. We're drummed into that from when I was growing up at school. What does it mean to be the best? To be the best is relative. You could be the best within yourself. The way I look at it is we need to have a connection more towards nature. Nature is so important. Green spaces, go into parks. Again, I say in the point here, staring at tall buildings and looking at materialistic success is not going to make people any more happier. You take the example of South Korea. I mean, you know what point I'm going to go on to. They said, a study showed that South Korea was one of the most hardest working nations on earth. And they pulled an 18-hour a day work ethic. And there was so much depression. There was a lot of hard work, but there was massive peaks of depression. It's the same with Canary Wharf. I remember Canary Wharf on the Jubilee line, which I would never want to go back to because it was over competitive. But you've got to look for that.
I'm just going to pause you there, Ali. I totally agree. But sorry, if we won't get to play anymore and have some fun with this. But absolutely, it's a great point. And like I said, that karoshi is a term for death by overwork, which is from one of the overworking cultures. So I absolutely agree. Thank you. So I work a lot with Nick Marks, and he talks about happiness. He works with the UN to work on the Happy Planet Index. So I don't know if you guys have seen, but the UN has said, hey, maybe GDP, to your point, Ali, is not such a good measure of success in a country. But the Happy Planet Index looks at the happiness of their staff, and it predicts if teams, organizations, and even nations are building a better future. And actually, if all you care about is making more money, then the great news is happy companies make more money. In studies that measured the stock market versus companies who were on the good places to work, they were 3 to 4 times year on year incremental value. And you can read more about that with Alex Edmonds or something like the Parnassus Fund. So I'll leave that to you guys to go ahead and do that. So very quickly, how do we create happiness at work? How about any of these things? Free fruit, office, fancy office design, bonus schemes, competitions, team building, wellness programs. Anybody have any of these things at work? Who goes home from work and says, I had the best day. I got 2 pieces of fruit from the fruit bowl. Anybody? That's what makes you have a happy day? No, it's not. We have a client who came to us and they were like, we give our staff smoothies every day and they're still not happy, right? And we know this, but companies do it. And we'll talk a little bit about how and why. Well, one, those things create satisfaction, not happiness. The second thing is they become hedonic adaptation, which means the first piece of chocolate tastes great. The 21st piece of chocolate does not taste as good. And if you get a pay rise, it does make you happy. Does anyone know for how long?
15 minutes.
Oh, you get a little bit more than that. 2 weeks. Then it becomes your normal and you're going after the next pay rise. So that's hedonic adaptation, where we just adapt to things. And it also invites us to compare with others. Hey, they got a bigger piece of fruit than I did. So those are all things that make us unhappy, actually. And so this is the crux of what we're going to go through today very quickly. So we believe that there's two types of happiness. And one we call happiness at work is experienced well-being. And the other is job satisfaction, which is evaluated. And what's the difference? Well, evaluated well-being is what we think. So when you sit down and objectively look at your job, you think, I get paid well, I have good benefits, there's free fruit and coffee, I've got great, great perks, there's good healthcare, all that kind of stuff. But happiness at work and what we're talking about is what we feel. And unfortunately, all the things that businesses are doing and throwing all of those things on that last slide into have the impact on that is about evaluated well-being. So perks, bonuses, salaries, titles, anything that was on that list sits into the job satisfaction. And that has a huge impact on people coming to work for you. So if you want to attract new talent, brilliant idea, because you got to compete with the Googles and the Facebooks out there, right? However, the thing that makes us happy at work, there's two things outside of that, our life situation. So if we're sitting in a global pandemic, or we're going through a divorce potentially, or our physical health, if we're really ill, or we have cancer, we're not going to be happy at work. But within a work context, there's two things that we teach here, and that is results and relationships. And when you think back to the stories you guys told, this is the key. It's doing great work together with great people. And when you think back to the story that made you happy at work, it was almost definitively because you were doing great work together with great people. And results, that means knowing what you do matters, being able to achieve it, having the autonomy and the tools to achieve that, being recognized by your colleagues and your boss that you have been able to achieve that. And relationships, your relationship with your colleagues, and even more importantly, your relationship with your boss. And this is what gives you the outcomes we showed earlier. It has, this is why you can give people free smoothies all day, and they're not going to give you all of those outputs you've heard about. And even if you had only wanted people to come for your career choice, there's a huge impact on that job satisfaction and career choice from happiness at work. And there is a very small impact upwards from job satisfaction. The only thing you have to be exceptionally careful of is if you take any of those things away. Anybody work somewhere where you used to have really good coffee and then they changed it for really crappy coffee, and 5 years later people are still talking about it? So humans' loss aversion means that if you ever take those things away, then you make people really unhappy at work. So when you're putting those into place, or if they're there in your workplace, you must think very carefully about taking them away, because that has this massive negative impact. And Ali, very much to your point before, one size does not fit all. People are going to be more results focused, more relationships focused somewhere on a sliding scale. And have a little think to yourselves. Do you prefer to be praised for achieving something, or finishing something, or how well it ran? Or do you prefer to be praised about how you connected with people, how you worked together? Everyone's different. So we should never be, don't treat others as we like to be treated, right? That golden rule is kind of debunked in leadership. Treat others the way they want to be treated. That's really, really important to think about. So when we talk about this, we talk about 4 areas, and that's results, relationships, purpose. And purpose is the thing that gets you out of the pandemic. It's your North Star, somewhere you can, something that drives you further and through these difficult times in our lives. And then the 4th thing, and the thing that we've seen across the board that people are really low on right now, is play. And again, this is part of the positive emotions, and we have stopped having fun at work. We've probably all been to a million Zoom quizzes or whatever it is we're doing today, and it's really more difficult now. But what I'm going to invite you to do is just think a little bit about those 4 things, and I want you to think about where you are on that scale. So I'm going to pop a little link into here to a Miro board, and I'm going to get you to come to this place which says, where are you? And then I'd like you to choose. You guys are all tech people, so I'm expecting this to go really well. I'm going to be seriously disappointed if it So just see where you are on results, relationships, purpose, and play. So I want you to score yourself out of 10 and thinking about your work life. Where are you at? If you don't know Miro, you can choose a shape from the left-hand side here, or you can choose a Post-it note, or you can just choose some text and type your initials there. And once you've scored yourself, I'd like you to just think about which of those is most important to you. So I'll give you like 1 minute because I'm talking all the day. Now we can talk.
I think you may need to open up the access to edit all.
I'm so sorry. That's so fabulous. I'm really good at that. No access. Yeah. Thank you. That's karma for me saying you guys are tech people. You best do it well. That was. I've been judged
by all the tech people
appropriately, might I add. Okay, hopefully you guys can get in now. I see you. Here you are. It was going so well.
I really had to zoom out of the way.
Yeah, sorry. For some reason, I made it enormous and I didn't realize. And maybe if you're struggling to write on there, or if it's too enormous, you can just think about it and think about where your score is. Write it down in a little notebook or something. You know, RP squared is what we say it to try and help you with the framework we talked about. So results, relationships, purpose, and play. Ines, I don't know how you're doing what you've done, but you're magic. Cool. So what does that make you guys think? Does anyone have any comments on that?
Makes me think of going up higher and achieving more goals rather than coming down.
Maybe you might be a little bit results oriented then, Daniel.
Yeah.
I think the purpose one is very metaphorical. It's a very deep one, but it's also very psychologically metaphorical.
Great. And some people are more purposeful than others. You know, that's more important for some people. Does anyone feel like they're a little bit lower somewhere than they would like to be?
Yeah, I think in relationships and play, recently I feel lower than how I used to feel like even a month ago.
Yeah. Even last time we did this, we'll have to compare and see where you're at. Yeah,
exactly.
It's a really nice mechanism to just check in with yourselves and just think about like, I'm not having a good day, and then have a look at this, because everyone's values are different, right? And so if you're having not a great day, it might be because one of your value needs is not being met. So it's always nice to just think, actually, I need a bit more results, or I need a bit more relationships. So I need to just book a coffee with someone. I want to have some more fun. So just use that as a nice little kind of like, say, framework or thought process. I'll leave you guys in there because I don't want to take up all of your evening. But I do want to tell you a little bit about leadership and happiness. So you can understand why it's so important. So what do you think the number one factor that makes us happy or unhappy at work is? Good guess. Leadership.
Oh.
How many people get a note, unless you work for yourself, okay, then you don't get to answer. How many people feel excited when they come in the morning and get a note from their boss saying they want to meet with them at 2:00 in the afternoon?
It's more anxiety.
Yeah. Even if you have a great relationship with your boss. Managers account for at least 70% of the variance between in employee engagement scores. So the difference if you have a high performing team and a low performing team is almost always the leader or manager. So our roles as leaders and managers are very important because emotions are contagious. Negative emotions are more contagious, and that's down to our kind of negativity bias. You know, back in the caveman days, if it was sounded like a tiger, you got to get out of the way. So you have to give that more weight than if it doesn't sound like a tiger. However, we don't need that anymore, but we still have it. And guess what? Unfortunately, a leader's emotions are the most contagious. And that's, again, just a hangover from our old days. So if you're a leader, that's one of the reasons why taking care of your own happiness at work is more important than just taking care of other people. You know, that whole put your own oxygen mask on first. And effects of bad leadership include fear, stress, worse health, and low motivation. And in fact, that stress piece, the majority of stress that we talked about and has that negative impact comes so much from bad leadership. So it's not just a nice to have or anything like that. You know, bad leadership leads people to have high chronic stress levels. And those people then go on to get sick. And then they die from those things we talked about, from heart disease, from type 2 diabetes, from different types of cancer. So it might sound trite, but actually happiness at work and leadership and how that affects people can be a matter of life and death. And it's not a joke. And if anyone has had a really bad leader or manager, and I have, that causes you to have that really deep stress, you'll know how horrible that is. And I hope you'll want to never, ever be that kind of leader. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips, and then we're going to go back on the Agile board and think about making yourself a plan for happiness using that lens that we have. So one thing I would say is make space for emotions, especially as a leader. Make it okay for people to come like this to work. One of the reasons is that lowers stress to be able to be your whole self at work and bring your whole self at work. The other thing is people who were allowed to say that they didn't feel good or they were having a shit day. It actually turns out that by the end of the day, they were more likely to turn around and be positive, have a better day than if they had to pretend they were okay all day. Give people time for reflection. It's really important to stop and think. And if we think back to the, hearts and minds, we don't need to be producing things we don't have to answer emails and messages every single time. You know, take some time to really reflect, to think about what you're doing, to think about the work you're doing, to give yourself space. Everyone is different. One size doesn't fit all. Happiness is different for different people. It means different things for different people. But also as leaders, we need to make sure, again, that we're not leading the way we want to be led. Because actually, I did that the first few years of my career and it was terrible. And I thankfully had some awesome employees who told me so. But it's all, we don't like it that way. Celebrate the small things. So Teresa Amabile talks about of all the things that can boost inner work life, the most important is making progress and meaningful work. So celebrating those wins, when you have a result, making sure you see them, high-fiving people, letting them know, absolutely really important. Invite people to share what they need help with, because it might be really easy for them. It might seem an insurmountable problem. But actually, if you have that collective thinking, it might actually be something that's really simple to solve. I love this question from Gary Vaynerchuk that he says you should ask to your staff, what can I do for you? Not what can I do for you at work, not what can I do to make your life better at work, how can I get you to work better, just what can I do for you? And the answers, I guarantee, will surprise you. And then I love random acts of kindness. People remember, our brains are triggered to remember surprises more than planned events. So if you want to create some of that little dopamine hit, some of that, fun, exciting stuff, then please have a random act of kindness. Send someone a card, an unexpected card, or a little gift in the post. We can't see each other, but gosh, I can't wait till we can. And then the last thing that is the easiest to do, and actually the most impactful and the least done, is to give people positive feedback. Feedback has become, and maybe you guys all run Agile better than the teams I've worked with before, but feedback has become, in my experience, how you tell people when they've done a shit job. Feedback should absolutely include that. However, telling people when they do a good job and they get it right is one of the biggest ways to increase happiness at work, to increase people's positive experience, to get them to keep doing the things you want them to keep doing and stop doing the things that you don't want them to be doing. It's free, it's cheap, it's easy. So if there's anything you can do to change things, it's tomorrow, start emailing people and giving them positive feedback. The only thing about positive feedback is it must be real, it must be true, and ideally it should be specific. So don't say things like, Ines, you are great at sitting in that chair. That doesn't mean anything. And actually that just devalues it. But if you know that someone has done something, then that's exactly what you should do. Do I have like a few minutes to get people to think about stuff, Ines, or am I way over time, ladies? I'm good. Okay.
No, you're good. Yeah. I'm
good. So I'll get you to hop back onto the Miro board. And I want you to think through that lens of results, relationships, purpose at play. Okay. And think with this wording, happiness at work is something we do. Yeah. It's not something we talk about. It's great. It's really great, Phil. I'm just picking on you. I'm so sorry. I don't mean it in a bad way. It's great that you've put it on the agenda. However, it's something you do. And if you only put it on the agenda and you don't focus on it, then it's not a thing. So I invite you to come to the board, have a little think about what could you do in your workplace as a leader, as an Agile practitioner within your workplace to get more results and relationships, purpose and play. Something that's really nice to do is if you have anything on those lists, the list that we looked at in your business, how can you change those to have them increase results, relationships, purpose and play? You don't have to throw them all out. How can you change them slightly? What are some good ideas you might have? I was talking to a client today and they have a...
Sorry, I'm missing something in Miro. Why? I'm clicking on the post-its and thinking I can type on it, but it's not. Am I?
Try right-clicking on it and selecting edit.
Thank you, Ohan. Is that working for you, Mariana?
No, am I supposed to just click on the post-its that are on the outside, or?
Yeah, you should be able to click them and then drag them and they should kind of highlight. If you want to just pop stuff in the chat, if you've got ideas, I can stick them on there for you if that makes it easier for you.
I want to be able to play.
Oh. Sometimes if you just vigorously click on the post-it as well, it works. I have these issues all the time with Miro, but I love it.
I think someone I was working with had it, and it was the browser didn't like it for some reason. I don't know if that sometimes it. So yeah, so one of our clients had, which I thought was brilliant, especially now, it's an okay to list. So things like it's okay to leave an email unanswered. It's okay to close down your chat messaging. So things that, one of the things that we find is that leaders and managers and businesses we're working with, they know it's okay, but people don't know unless you make it explicit right now. There's something about working from home which makes people feel like they have to be more present, they need to do more, they need to show that they're doing more. And so having this list of it's okay to, it gives people that explicit permission, which I thought that was a brilliant idea. And one of my other favorites is a to-do list. You know, if you want to think about results and increasing results, we all have to-do lists, right, which are never ending. But a to-do list is, what have I done today? And then you can look at, actually, even if you did 10 things in the morning, you only did 5 of them, you're going to look at the 5 you didn't do. Well, what if you celebrate the 5 you did do? It helps you, get that positivity loop, you become more productive, you're more likely to get stuff done. And it's a really lovely way to do that. So those are some of my favorite easy things. Anybody want to share what they're thinking, what they're going to do, something you might do tomorrow? It's Friday tomorrow, right? Yeah, it's Friday tomorrow.
I certainly have to get better specific positive feedback. Even to give myself the pause to think, what is that I really like? Sometimes, we get into this rush, even to such a wonderful thing. So certainly something tomorrow I am gonna account myself for.
And I really think booking 5 minutes in your calendar to do that every morning, just write an email to someone, it's brilliant. It's a great way to start your day. You'll feel better, you'll get the benefit of it, and so will they. It's a really lovely thing to do. And until things become like a habit and something we naturally do, sometimes we need those things. So don't feel sad about booking some time in your diary to remember to phone somebody. Don't feel guilty about that. Just do it.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say. I'm going to put some time aside tomorrow to ring up colleagues that I wouldn't ordinarily talk to and just ask if there's anything I can do.
Amazing. Yeah. I'd love to hear how that goes.
Yeah, I really like this idea of a ta-da. Sorry.
Ta-da! Yeah, sometimes you have to say it like that. It's my
yeah. Yeah, I was like, how do I say it in a normal way? Yeah, obviously I haven't put that on the board, but I think I might just try and do that because I'm quite busy at the moment and I do forget. Sometimes at the end of the day I literally just switch off and crawl into the sack and just think, oh, thank God it's over, when actually it's really nice to reflect what it is that you've achieved. So that's nice. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So that's the end of my portion. The one thing I'd ask you to do is pop a word in the chat and let me know how you're feeling. How do you feel now? Oh, it's never my intention to make you feel sad. That's brilliant. Thank you. And I feel energized. I said to the ladies earlier, I've actually done 5 presentations today, and the late one is, it's difficult. So that you guys have just given me a huge amount of energy. So thank you so much for participating and sharing and just being present. I'm really grateful.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so much, Sarah. I mean, I'd certainly got a lot of value out of your the Miro board, as I love it, but also the things that you said. It's always nice as well, I think, to be reminded about certain elements of, you know, happiness and work, and, you know, trying to achieve it and be reminded of that as well. So any questions at all that we can just open up just before we pop off, if that's all right, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you get any resistance when you try to implement any of the actions or initiatives? Mainly I'm stating like that this is maybe waste of time or something like that. This is not giving direct value to what we're delivering and so on.
I think possibly if someone is, if someone's going, we're doing this happy initiative, you have to fill in the blank, then yes, definitely. I think if it is done thoughtfully, and you explain what you're doing to people, nobody wants to be forced to do something. So I think in happy initiatives, people don't have to play. It's okay. People might not be there. They might not want to be there. And like I said, happiness is different for everybody. So I think you do. I think if the intention is well meant, if it's explained well and it's implemented and it's done thoughtfully and thoroughly, then not so much. I think what I do see hugely is people talking about either happiness or purpose or whatever it is. Mental health is the one right now that's really killing me. You know, that whole idea of 96% of those companies putting that in and none of the people feeling it, telling people they need to do more self-care when they're completely overworked. Like, so you should never, if you have a really horrible boss and a terrible toxic work culture, and then you try to put in happiness initiatives without fixing that, then absolutely, yeah, you'll get that. But if you're lucky enough to work somewhere that has a positive work culture that cares about their people. And by the way, if you work somewhere like that, you should probably quit. March 31st, quit your crappy job day. Brilliant day. So that would be my answer to that. Obviously, it's not for everybody. However, I think the science and even the science in terms of introverts versus extroverts, like a lot of the stuff about connection, especially right now, is really important. And even us, I'm an introvert, weirdly enough. Even us introverts need more than we think we do. So does that answer your question?
Absolutely, thank you.
No problem.
Can I share that? Yesterday I was running a workshop that was about an hour and a half, and I don't work in an agile environment, although, you know, I try to promote as many of the kind of, you know, the mindset and so on at work. And I decided to, you know, inject some fun, and I just did an icebreaker and put a note up because everything's on WebEx, you know, and there were about 20 people coming from a lot of different teams and whatnot. So I just said, you know, the 8th person in has to answer one of these questions, and then they pick someone and they pick someone. So we didn't have time to do, you know, 20, 25 people, whoever was there. So we did 5. And then the person who was presenting most of the, you know, the work in that particular workshop said, "Oh, thanks for that. That was really good." And also when I finished, I sent we have official thank yous. I sent about 6 of them out. Couple people from the US who logged in at 6:30 their time, you know, so I just, you know, it was little things, but I thanked them for that. I thanked the person who presented for being, you know, transparent with his roadmap and being flexible, asking people if they wanted to see something different. But when I got, and I've gotten really good feedback from the thank yous as well. Oh, this is really giving me motivation. I know we're really busy, but, you know, blah, blah, blah. But there was an email in my inbox that I noticed later that someone said, I've logged off. I don't have time for your fun.
Yeah, sometimes you will.
And I thought it was a joke initially, and I kind of went to answer and went, oh, we all have to make time for fun. And then I thought, he may have actually meant that. So at the moment, I haven't done anything about it. I may give him a call. I don't, or maybe
you should check in with them and just say, hey, how are you doing? That's a brilliant. I love but it sounded like your feedback was super specific, you know, thank you. And seeing people, you know, just saying, I see that you got up early to come to this. That means,
you know, thanks for not complaining and coming early. Somebody else, thanks for being transparent and flexible. And I forget the other one.
Brilliant.
I sent a couple. Oh, one today, somebody shared something, you know, you might want to do this early because last time we tried, it took us a month to get, you know. So then I sent him one today and I thought, oh, I'm sharing that information. That was good. So they were little things, they were specific, but if people get the idea.
Yeah, it's nice to
someone even remarked, occasionally I put, you know, things like, for one day only, you know, come and see so-and-so speak about, you know, the end-to-end design. And, you know, nobody's really said anything, but somebody on one of the responses to that official thank you was like, well, you always make it interesting, or you at least, you know, you try to put some fun in. So thank you. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, it's normal to get resistance to change, and, you know, there is enough change going on. So maybe some people will be more protected than others, but there is nothing fluffy. You know, there is nothing fluffy about that, about making connections meaningful, more memorable, more relevant. You know, you're helping on those things with the little tweaks, and that makes a massive difference, makes people being more present, makes the meeting being more successful to what it is, right? We have enough of boring meetings in life. So that probably will be my response to any resistance, because there is no fluff about it. We have also one question in the chat, Sarah. I don't know if you can see that.
I saw that. Yeah. So thanks, Denise. We need to treat others as they would like to be treated. How to individualize it? You could always ask them. It's my favorite one. I think sometimes as leaders we're like, oh, let's devise something or do something. But and sorry, that wasn't at you, Denise. That was just at myself as well. Like, I know as a leader, I go, oh yeah, how can I devise a program to make sure? And actually, you could just ask someone, hey, how do you like to be praised? That's a great one. Some people are really into like, oh, I love it to be praised in front of everybody. Or some people are like, you can just tell me, like, but I don't want a fuss made of it. That's quite a nice way to do it. Just ask people how they want to be praised, or just check in on them. You know, thinking about it. You can even ask, you know, you can give them that, you know, results, relationships, purpose, and play. Where do you sit on that? You can ask them a question and get that from them. So it's a great question, Denise, and it's really important to think about how everyone wants to be treated. But yeah, there's no substitute for just asking.
Okay then, so it is nearly on the hour. So thank you so much, Sarah, for your time again. It is really appreciated, and thank you so much for everybody as well for coming and to learn with us. It's been really wonderful to have you here. So yes, I guess that's it from tonight's session. So over and out.
Thank you so much for having me. It was totally lovely to be involved. Thanks, everybody.
Helen,
thanks, Sarah. Thanks, everybody.
I think you said it was being recorded. Will I be able to see the recording?
Yes, you will. We will send it out in the meetup and then send out a link to it also. Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. Lovely to see you.
You as well.
Bye. Thank you.
See you, folks. Thank you so much.